Hi everyone, welcome to Eden's Secret, and finally we're going to make some product today. It's not that I haven't been making product, I've made loads of product. I probably had the busiest January ever and February, but I got the flu as well, so that knocked me right back. Anyway, today we're going to be making some massage bars, and I'm actually going to give you the recipe as well, but we're going to start off with the equipment that we need today, and I'm going to be using my new KitchenAid blender. As you can see, it has a really long stem, which is fantastic if you're going to be doing lots of soap in one big pan. But today we're not going to be, so we don't need that today. But they do this shorter one, which is so useful. So we're just gonna now. Silly me, when I was doing the video the other day, I was trying to put the end on like that, thinking that was the blender, but actually it goes on this way, and then you put the nozzle on the end. Something else that's really useful about this is it has a very handy belt that you can tie around your wires. Now, the wires are always too long for me, and I usually just tie them up with some elastic band, but this belt you can take off the excess and just tie it round like that, so it'll be just the right length for you to use it here. If you were mixing further back, your wire ends up going into your bowl and into your mixture, and you don't want that. So what we are going to need today is we're going to need some weighing scales. We're going to need a mixing bowl. This is a Pyrex one, so you could just use this bowl if you wanted to. I'll be using this bowl to melt the cocoa butter and shea butter, and I'll be using this Pyrex jug to pour it, because I love the lips on the Pyrex jugs. I think they're fabulous. And of course we need a whisk. Now, a hand whisk is going to be absolutely fine, but I'm going to be trying out the KitchenAid whisk that actually attaches onto the hand blender. But we're not going to be attaching that first. What we are going to do though is we're going to spray everything down with some rubbing alcohol. Now, I just put some rubbing alcohol in a spray like this, get some kitchen roll, and I'm going to give everything a spray out with the rubbing alcohol and clean it out with some kitchen roll, just to get anything dirty out of there. And I'm going to do the same with all the utensils. Don't ask me about these weighing scales, they're rubbish. They cost me 100 quid, but they're too small, and I don't like them at all, so I'm not going to recommend them. They're from Rubbermaid. I really was meaning to get an official pair of scales. That's what I needed, and I made a mistake and ended up buying these. So it's a very expensive pair of kitchen scales basically. And we're also going to do the work surface as well, and we'll just do the whisk while we're on, and spray down your work surface with rubbing alcohol. And then obviously you're going to get through a lot of rubbing alcohol if you're using it for this kind of thing, but I think when you're doing creams and moisturizers, it's really important to make sure all your surfaces are spotless. Now, there's one more thing we need to clean, and that is the blender nozzle. Does this have a name, the blender nozzle? Does it have a special name? I'm sure it seemed like a lot of you had this blender and are really impressed with it, so I was really pleased to hear that, because as I said, I was concerned that it wasn't going to be powerful enough, but it seems like all of you that have one really like it. Now, if you are new to soap making, you don't need to go and spend £120 on a blender. Just go and get the cheapest one you can from whatever your cheapest shop is. Like here it'll be Argos or anywhere like that. Don't waste a lot of money on an expensive blender or expensive equipment, which is something I'm going to be talking about in the future, because you don't know whether you're even going to like making products yet. So, but we'll talk about that in another video in the future. Right, that's all of our equipment nice and clean. Now we need to move on to the ingredients. Okay, here are our ingredients. We've got some, we'll start with the top one because the measurements are always different in a recipe, and when you're listing your ingredients on your label, you always have to go from the highest to the lowest. So if you've got 200 grams of cocoa butter, that's going to go at the top. If you've got 50 grams of fragrance oil, that's going to go at the bottom. Now we're not putting any colours into this massage bar today. This is a simple recipe that everyone can do. So what is a massage bar? It's a bar, a solid, beautiful bar of luxurious butters and oils that melt with the skin's temperature. When you rub them onto the skin, they melt because they have low melting points. Cocoa butter has a low melting point. Shea butter, beeswax not so much, but your carrier oil is already melted. So we're going to be using 190 grams, which is 6.8 ounces of cocoa butter. I'll put the listing of each of the ingredients and where I get them in the description box below. The cocoa butter I buy in 20 kilo boxes from HB Ingredients. You might not want to spend £200 on a box of cocoa butter, so I'll put a listing for one of the soap suppliers that do smaller ingredients. So we've got cocoa butter here, we've got beautiful shea butter. This is real luxurious shea butter. There are lots of different qualities of shea butter out there. I recommend the grapefruit shea butter. It's so white and pure and snowy, and it's just beautiful. I won't name any names, but one of the other suppliers, their shea butter is soft. It's like you can push your finger into it. It's very emollient. I don't know if they sneakily add carrier oil to that to water it down, shall we say, or whether that is just how it comes and it's just a cheaper not so luxurious variety. In this container, I'm literally just using some sunflower oil. You can use any carrier oil you want to: coconut, olive, sweet almond, apricot kernel. Some oils getting more expensive, and the more luxurious, expensive carrier oils, I think really you should only be buying those to put in face creams and for use on your face, like vitamin E and argan, and you know, just all of those lovely thick gorgeous oils. Now this is an old container because it's got my angel skin fragrance in. My angel skin fragrance, I buy it in 5 litres at a go. So what I do is I can't have 5 litres of everything standing on the shelves because they're heavy and bulky and take up too much space. So I just dispense them into these 250ml aluminium bottles, which last for years and years and years. So that's the Angel Skin fragrance. I am going to do some other lotion bar videos, but for today I'm just doing my best selling Angel Skin solid body butter, or massage bar, or lotion bar as they are known. I call it solid body butter because people understand what it is. When I used to call them massage bars, a lot of people actually didn't know what it was. So a solid body butter, they totally understand. Right, so let's get some of these ingredients weighed. Now, I might be able to get them all straight into this pyrex jug, but I'm not going to. Just for the sakes of the video, I'm just going to swap these over. And I'm going to put the pyrex jug on there, press the on button so that it's at 0. So I've got a recipe here for you. I'm going to do a PDF print off, so if you look in the description box below the video, the PDF print off, I just think that'll help a lot of people. You can maybe laminate them or put them in a folder, something like that. Now this cocoa butter that I got from HB Ingredients, it is so hard. It's the hardest cocoa butter I've ever bought. Now, a lotion bar just made with cocoa butter is perfect. The problem is, you see how it's very granular when it sets. So you need to counteract that. A lot of people think it's ugly. It doesn't bother me, but the finish on the outside, it's sort of mottled, and you know, you can see all the particles around, and so that's the only reason I'm putting any other ingredients into the massage bar, because I don't want that mottled look. I also want a nice glide on the skin. Too much beeswax. Oh, did I mention we're actually putting beeswax in there? Too much beeswax, the glide, it's just sticky. It instead of it gliding over your skin, it sort of doesn't glide properly, and it'll stick to the hairs if you've got hairy arms and things like that, which a lot of people have. So we're going to just chop this delicious cocoa butter, which is such a beautiful, beautiful ingredient. I'll use this smaller piece. You don't need to chop it up into small chunks like this, but I just thought some people like to see me cutting with a knife, so that's the only reason I'm doing it like this today. You can just plop the chunk straight into the bowl, which is what I usually do. I'm only doing this for effect. So let's pop, see how much we've got here. As you can see, I'm not making a lot today. I am making a lot today, but I'm just doing this extra bit so that you know, when I'm coming to pouring, I'm going to have a lot more mixture than what you can see here. But I know a lot of people can't make in bulk. So that's the only reason I'm doing a smaller batch. But all I'm going to do is add it to a big pan of the mixture that I've already got going. Right, we're at 175 there. Better put some gloves on. sorry, I forgot to put my gloves on. I think it's important with moisturisers and things like that. So we're at 175. We just need another 15 grams. So there we are. We're exactly there. So that's 190 grams, 6.8 ounces of cocoa butter. We're going to put the beeswax in next, which is 150 grams. Now I am using quite a lot of beeswax today, but it's still only, is it a fifth? It's maybe, it's under a quarter of the overall measurement is beeswax. So we're just going to pour that into there until we've got 150 grams. Now for the shea butter, so we'll just tear that. Make sure you tear it, just makes it easier. So we're going to go with 100 grams of this gorgeous shea butter. I'll just give you a close look at it. Beautiful, beautiful white. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It's like powdery snow. You see, that's a lot easier to cut. So we've got 45 grams there. 75. The cocoa butter, I think, always needs to be the main ingredient, simply because it's the hardest oil. Butter, hard as butter. It's still an oil. It. So we're at 100 grams for the shea butter, and then we need to add some carrier oil, which is only 50 grams. I've gone slightly over, but don't worry about it, doesn't matter. I've gone over by 1 gram, so it doesn't matter. So 190 grams, 6.8 ounces of cocoa butter, 150 grams, 5.3 ounces of beeswax, 100 grams, 3.5 ounces of shea butter, 50 grams, 2.1 ounces of sunflower oil or any other carrier oil. Now you don't have to use beeswax either. You can use soy wax or any kind of waxes that are out there. Again, I'm just making a real simple recipe for you. So that's it, literally, for the oils. So we're going to put those, I'm going to put them in the microwave to melt, and I'll start off melting checking every 2 minutes. So I'll do it 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and then maybe 1 minute, 1 minute until it's ready. As soon as it's melted, it's ready to go. A lot of people would put the shea butter in after the they wouldn't put the shea butter in now to melt, but I find that it's only when you melt shea butter on its own in the microwave that it goes grainy. It's okay if you're melting it with other oils. That's what I find. But I would suggest you not do that. You can leave the shea butter out, melt all of the other oils, and then just put the shea butter in, and it'll melt in no time. So we're going to do that now. We're just going to melt that in the microwave, or a double boiler if you prefer. Okay, so we melted for 4 minutes, and that melted everything. except there's one little grain you can see in there bobbing around. So I'm not actually using the whisk on the blender. I'm just using, you know, I've taken it off and I'm just using that to stir it around a bit. So you can see now that all of the butter is melted. It's so important for all the butter to melt. Same when you're making soap. If all of your butter isn't melted, you're going to end up with you're not going to get DOS on massage bars, but you would end up getting DOS on your soap because there'll be little granules there that are still in their original form. So we're going to check the temperature. Again, if you're new and you can't afford a temperature gauge, you don't need to buy one. Don't worry about it. As soon as it's melted, it's going to be okay, as long as you don't overheat. If you overheat, you'll see it starts to steam and smoke. So you must keep an eye on these things. I'm not responsible for safety, and I don't talk about it very much during my videos, but it's your responsibility before you make anything. It's just like cooking, isn't it? You don't let your fat overheat in your chip pan or your frying pan or whatever. So these temperature gauges are really cheap actually. I think this was about £10 I found online. I'll find a link for one and I'll put it in the description box. But wherever you are in the world, you'll find these, and they'll be cheap as chips wherever you are. So this is in Fahrenheit. We're at 150 Fahrenheit. Now I could put the fragrance oil in there right now, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to let it melt a little bit more, cool down a little bit more, shall I say. Oh hey, what the heck, let's just put it in now. Because I know the flash point is a lot higher than 150 degrees. So it's not going to burn the fragrance off. The flash point will be, the suggested flash point should be on the fragrance oil supplier when you're buying from a company. So let's just pop that on there. One thing with these Pyrex dishes, it is utterly important that when you've heated something up, you must put it onto a wooden surface or onto some kitchen roll or a tea towel on the underneath, because I have had taking it straight from the microwave, putting it on a cold granite surface, they can just, well, literally they explode because of the heat difference. But that's only when I've probably heated them up too much. That's the only time that's happened. So let's put in our fragrance oil now. So altogether we've got about 500 grams, which is a pound of oil, and it's half a litre in the UK in the metric measurements. So we're going to be using 5% fragrance. So 10% of 500 is 50 grams. So 5% is going to be half of that. If it was 600 grams, it would be 10% would be 60 grams. 700 grams, 10% would be 70 grams. 800 grams, 10% would be 80 grams. So just half that, and that'll give you your 5%. So I know that 25 grams of fragrance is going to go in here. Now, how do I know how much fragrance to put in? Again, when you buy your fragrance, it should tell you the percentage level that is suggested to put in any product. Depends what product you're putting it in as well. But as this is a body butter, it's 5%. Some fragrance oils are stronger, essential oils stronger, and they'll tell you. If they haven't got it written down, literally get in touch with them and ask them. So I'm just going to do this until I've got 25 grams. Again, I've gone over just a little bit, but that's okay. You know, it's not exact science. So just stir in your fragrance oil and let it warm up in there for a while. Maybe just leave it in there for 2 minutes. You don't have to keep stirring it, but you can just leave it to one side, and then just before you pour, you would give it another stir. So let's check the temperature now. We're at 140 now. Obviously that cooler fragrance oil has cooled it down a little bit, so we're just going to leave it until it's ready to pour. Now when I come back here, we're going to have a lot more oil than you can actually see in the bowl. So just ignore, it hasn't multiplied in size or anything. It's just that I've got a big pan of oil, of ingredients oil on the ring now, and that is ready. So I'm going to pour this into that, and then I'm going to pour my massage bars, which you can see are in these heart molds behind. Now those you'll just have to search online for, and what you would type in is silicone heart molds. In the UK we spell M-O-U-L-D-S. In the US it's M-O-L-D-S. So either of those spellings, you should find something that's similar enough. You know, there can be all different sizes, and this is quite a big one. But because it's big, I don't need to fill it all the way to the top of the mold to get 100 grams. Now that's another thing about cocoa butter and shea butter. It weighs lighter than your soap would. So if I filled this up with soap, it might be 150 grams, but full of cocoa butter, full of butters, it's probably only going to be 100 grams in weight. So that's around about what most of my massage bars are, but I've got some lovely new shapes and fragrances that I'm going to be doing. And sorry, I'm talking a lot today. Just want to give you all the information I possibly can. So I'm going to have like smaller massage bars and larger ones, and they're all going to be different prices. I just think, you know, I've always tried to find molds that are around about 100 grams, 90 grams, 100 grams, 110, that kind of thing. But then you miss out on some of the beautiful shaped molds and things like that. So the only way to rectify that is to charge the correct price for the right size. Right, we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we've got our massage bar, lotion bar, solid body butter mix. You're ready to pour. And as you can see, I've just got a normal hand whisk at the moment. We're just going to move this to one side, and I'm going to move my molds forward so you can get a better view of what I'm doing. And then we're just going to start to pour. And I haven't used the blender yet because I'm going to be using the blender, for some different massage bars, which I'm going to put some colour in. If you're not going to put any colour in, you won't need your blender. And that will be coming up after we've made these. I just need to fill that up again. So it might look a bit cloudy, this is just because it's It's a bit cooler now. What temperature is it? Well, let's have a look. It's 120. So these still need some roses applied, but you can't apply the roses yet. You've got to wait until it's getting a little bit of a seal on there. Because the roses, if you put the roses on top now, they'll just literally sink. So I've got 24 there. 20. I need... yeah. So that's the bars all poured. Golden, delicious cocoa butter and shea butter and sunflower oil and beeswax. Of course, fragrance. Okay, so you can now see that the bars are getting a bit of a skin on the top. It's now time to add the roses. And I put 3 on each. These are the roses I'm using at the moment. They're a lovely colour, but the petals are incredibly soft. Very, very soft. So they can break easily. So just tip them out on the surface like that. I'm just going to move you along a little bit. And then just pop them on. Like so. I'll just switch that off. Always comes on at the wrong time. But John will complain if it's cold when he comes in from work, because he works in a shed, but it is outside, so there's no heating or anything, so he likes a good warm through when he comes in. And he'll say, you know, there's a lot of people that are very tight with the heating, because it obviously costs a lot of money to run. And John says if a man can't have his heating on, then do something about it. You've got to have some luxuries in life. And the heating is ours. But it is getting to that time of year where you don't need it on as much, which we love. So we have, oops, I've put that one upside down. So I've said before what I like about these, the little bits on the bottom, they're not very pointy at all, and so they won't really scratch. When you're using one of these solid body butters, you would really rub from the opposite side, like the bottom. You would rub it on your skin from that way on, or just take the rose buds out. You can always pop those in the bath and all the petals will pop off the buds and float on the top of your bath. you know, and if you don't like mess, then don't put the rosebuds in. And although these are tea rosebuds, you can't put them in your tea from the massage bar, because all you'll taste is okay. So that's it for part 1. In part 2 we're going to be pouring some more massage bars, solid body butters or lotion bars, whichever you call them, and we'll be making some different ones, and we'll also be unmoulding. So hope you look forward to that, and hopefully that video will be up tomorrow.